It's pretty clear that Hacker was going to come back this week, as it was clear that he was going to go out this week, as it's equally clear that our boy Courier, based on that preview, is also going to go out. Though the preview doesn't really indicate that Swindler's going to die, so I'm actually hoping that Swindler and the kids will get to live in a happy-go-lucky fantasy land that Hacker has deemed worthy for them to live. But this is Akudama Drive, everyone's seemingly going out, who knows what's going to happen. And a big theory was that, well, someone like Swindler looks very similar to brother and sister, so clearly she probably comes from the same place. She had a cut on her face for pretty much half this episode, and it didn't heal, so I'm pretty sure even if she might have came from the same place, she doesn't have immortality like they do, which does put her up for risk if they do go into that direction. This was, without a doubt, the most visually striking episode of Akudama Drive. It had the most creativity, not only just from the hacking angle, but the whole digitized of everything. It was so visually impressive that you would think you're watching something that has a movie production towards it, not something that's produced television for just TV broadcast. But this Hacker episode, I think, was everything I wanted. Ever since Hacker disappeared, I had the hope that he would return and become a character that was more than just someone who wanted to play a game. And while he still is just someone who wants to play a game, I think they fleshed him out enough to really give him a purpose in this story, rather than just having him be the smart hacking character like he initially started out as. Without a doubt, Hacker, as well as our boy Hoodlum, had the best growth in terms of where they started off to where they ended up, because they were the most cardboard cutout at the initial glance. Smart hacking character, kind of a guy who is pretending to be strong but isn't, but both had great either backstories or they kind of mixed with the plot in such a way that they became something special. The idea of someone who just wants to hack into things and play games, that's honestly what makes sense for a character like him, but the idea of him not doing it for money or not doing it to, save his life, but really he's like, hey, you brought me back my bot, I can at the very least try to do this because not only will I have fun, it'll be a nice reward for you as well. It's not something that's overly crazy, but it's enough to make you appreciate Hacker in terms of his part of the story, rather than just feeling like he was a missed opportunity like you might have thought when he parted on that train and you didn't know where he was going. While watching this episode, I actually thought we were getting a flashback before the whole interaction with Swindler and Courier. But the idea of this being like a memory in terms of like, hey, this is what you can have. You can have a nice life. You can go back to not fearing for your life. Seeing what happened to Courier and why he views, drop coins as bad luck, because the one time he did pick up a drop coin, the person who is either his mother or a mother figure, the one who trained him to be a courier, got killed after he picked up that coin and he lost an arm. So it's interesting to see how they were using these memories and saying, look at all the bad things that's happened. You can have everything. You can eat your food on the couch with that woman who's now dead. You can just enjoy your simple apartment life where you get out of work on time every day. It's something that's peaceful. It's something that's this. And the idea that this location that was always used, this little children's programming that was used to kind of push you away to never go in there, it was manipulation. And when you did, it would turn your memories into this digital foundation that you can just be peaceful, and it would store it for forever by the looks of it. As long as the creations, brother and sister, got there in time, they can store the data and have this be some sort of utopia. And honestly, it is better than the current city that they live in. The current city that they live in, if you go against even like protesting the government, you'll be labeled an Akudama and get mass murdered. That doesn't seem like a great place to live. If you're asking me to pick between digital luxury or a city that could turn on you at a moment's notice, take my brain away and turn it into a digital foundation if those are my options. But if there's the third option, I'm definitely getting on that train and hopefully finding a better tomorrow. So the idea of going back and forth and using this beautiful animation that constantly felt like a digital wonder. If you were to ask me what would it look like if the world was digitized and it was forming in cubes and things like that, Akudama Drive perfectly represented it. The idea of hacking is usually the most boring thing in anime because it's usually just a character typing on a keyboard in unrealistic fashion. But the idea of Hacker like literally going in and being a part of it and chasing towards it, and the fact that the reason he was actually able to beat the game wasn't because he was better than the program, it was because these people were stupid enough to give these kids personality, to give the idea of self-awareness and the idea to fight for their own life. And they aided him in order to get free. I think nothing in this episode felt convenient. It felt like everything was built up for a reason. The idea of Hacker and going in and him becoming and kind of protecting his own mind. The idea of brother and sister and what they were created for. The idea of this computer and the children's programming that continue to pop up that Hacker kind of took over the past couple of episodes. It just feels like everything was built up, and rather than going with the typical and cliche, which even Swindler in this episode and Hacker, they kind of have a conversation about how this is just a cliche sci-fi plotline. Rather than going with the traditional, oh, Swindler is very much determined, she's going to keep jumping and jumping, she'll hurt herself, but eventually she'll break through because that's how it works. Instead, no, it was because they broke through the actual data code that Swindler was able to grab them after trying. It wasn't something that was just brute force and power of love or power of friendship. It was something that actually had to be defeated in a realistic fashion. And I'm very curious to see what this location that Hacker sent Swindler is going to be, because for Courier, his job's done. Courier is dying. I don't see any way around that, but I feel like Courier is going to die for these kids as well as Swindler. It'll be interesting to see if Swindler herself will get to live, because I don't see how the brother or sister could die. They're immortal by the looks of it, unless that has been removed somehow when they're in that weird, which honestly looked gorgeous. I don't know how they blended it so well, but the mixture of like 3D and 2D and just the gorgeous colors kind of like glitching around, it was fantastic to say the least. I mean, the train gets blown apart, you know there's going to be one last battle, but in a lot of ways you would think this was what was going to be the final episode. So the fact that in 12 episodes, this anime original that easily could have felt bloated, it could have felt like there was too many characters, none of the characters mattered. But I mean, when we really break it down, the one who was the most, here's who he is and he didn't change, was a character who got killed in order to push another character into becoming, from just being a simple hooligan, into a hoodlum. So that's what I like about this show, is that nothing I can look at this show and say, I wish this wasn't here, or I wish this was different. I think every character served a purpose at this point. I feel like every character, even if they didn't change too much, this is like who they are. They were in Akudama, they were fighting for different things, some for money, some for figuring out what the human life is, some just wanting to beat the shit out of people, some wanting to find a purpose in life, some wanting to just protect children. Like, they all had their reasons for being in Akudama, and the idea of how the mission came to be and what the purpose of the mission and where they ultimately went, it feels so well developed that you don't need more than 12 episodes. I would be shocked if episode 12 feels like the pacing was rushed, because based on where we're currently at and where we left off, 12 episodes seems perfect, all things considered. I don't honestly know how it's going to end past, hopefully, Swindler and the kids getting to the safe haven. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but Courier definitely is not going home, and maybe not even Swindler herself. The opening would indicate the Swindler doesn't make it, but at the same time, that could be a red herring, making you think that everyone's going to die up until, like, just the children, but, you know, anything's possible. A fantastic episode, one of, if not the best episodes of Akudama Drive, visually without a doubt the best episode. I'd have to really think about what's my favorite narrative, but this is up there for sure, if not my absolute favorite. I can't wait to see how this all concludes next week. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your favorite moment, and how you think it's all going to conclude next week. If you enjoyed the video, of course, leave a like, share your support, hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.